Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Patholkas, and this is Doom Patrol, Season 1, Episode 2, Donkey Patrol. And thank you for those of you who waited the extra minute for me to get in here. I was a little bit late because I was having to deal with some stuff electronically there. And then watching this is, it's an hour-long show, and it's an hour, like a true hour. It's no commercials. So, it takes a little bit of time to get through it and after work and everything else. So how's everyone doing? Yeah, I saw somebody said happy birthday to to Slurmy Scott's guy tomorrow. There we go. Excuse me. Damn good episode. That's all I can say. This is honestly some really good stuff. This is what I was kind of hoping that DC Universe was going to be, and Titans was really I'm sorry, it was bad. And I'm glad I didn't pay for DC Universe at the beginning of that for that, because wow, this is like night and day, complete and total night and day. And you can tell it's Akiva Goldsman, really, is what it is. Akiva Goldsman is doing Titans, and his stamp on that is like a shit stamp, is really what it is, compared to Doom Patrol, which is honestly, I'm going to say it's as good right now as Umbrella Academy. Yeah. For those of you who have watched Umbrella Academy on Netflix, this is as good, maybe even a little bit better than Umbrella Academy. And yeah, that takes a lot for me to say that. So, yeah, if you guys haven't, there's a free 7-day trial for DC Universe. Give it a shot. The first 2 episodes are up. And if you don't like it, then you can cancel it. So there you go. Excuse me. Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. If you haven't gone and seen it, go and see it. Come on back. This will be a video, and then you can comment down below in the chat there, or in the comment section. And hello, Slurmy and Movie Finobi. Today sucked for Finovich. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I understand, man. Yeah, today wasn't a bowl of cherries for me either, shall we say. So, but yeah, it was actually a lot of fucking fun, this episode. They do the recap, of course, at the beginning of every episode, and the recap is narrated by Alan Tudyk, doing Mr. Nobody, and it's originally I was going to skip over the recap, but he actually made it fun to watch the recap again. And I love it because, when it first starts off, he goes, "This is a story about 4 couch potatoes, and oh my God, I should be drinking for this." That's the first thing he says. And I just started laughing. I'm like, all right, I got to watch the rest of this. And of course, he gets to the end of it, and he says, "Let the pretentious title sequence begin." And sure enough, it goes to the pretentious title sequence. And it's really well worth it just for him alone. I mean, he is doing what Alan Tudyk is best at, when you let him go and you let him, because he's fucking funny in real life. And he actually goes with it. He runs with this. And so where we left off in episode 1 was the vortex opened up in town and was sucking everything in. And sure enough, it's still there. The vortex is sucking everything in the town in. And all of a sudden there's a cockroach, I shit you not, that stands up on the edge of a garbage can and is spouting religious stuff. "Thank you, Father, for giving us this bounty and putting these blessings upon us. And I'm here to serve you, Father." And he gets sucked into the vortex and screams as he goes in. And Robot Man says, "Well, pretty much the rest of us are going." He goes, "What the fuck?" And that was exactly where this episode starts off, man, with the "what the fuck" moment. And yeah, I was actually getting into this. And I mean, and Mr. Nobody is going, he's still doing his diatribe. He's in the van right now with excuse me. He's in the van with Calder right now, Niles Calder, and he's doing his whole diatribe about how these heroes were inept because Daddy did not think to train them for this kind of mission. And Calder asks, he goes, "Who are you talking to? Who do you think you're talking to?" And Mr. Nobody says, "Fanboys and girls, DC subscription subscribers, and the 3 who stuck around after the donkey farted." Which is at the end of the first episode. And I swear, man, I was just it was a joy to watch that very beginning part of it because like I said, he was really into this thing. So we see the town getting sucked into this vortex. uh you know, it's getting sucked in, and the heroes don't know what to do because they haven't been trained. And we see the van with Calder and Mr. Nobody get sucked into the vortex as well. And Jane just kind of walks up to the hole, and Cliff is yelling at her, "Jane, no." And she jumps into the hole, and the hole closes behind her. And that's where and the town is gone at this point. Talking cockroach and all. Yeah. And Cliff is saying that he wants to find the donkey because he figures the donkey is all part of this, and wants to find out who did this because he said, Chief told us that he had enemies that were coming after us. And he goes, and one of them obviously found us, and we need to find out what happened to him. And Rita says, Larry says, "Nope, I'm out of here. I'm leaving." And Rita goes, "Oh, you know what? Tomorrow's Tuesday. That's garbage day." So she's going to go back home, and leaving Cliff by himself to basically find the donkey and find out what's going on there. So then we go over to Detroit, and we see this woman is being taken to an ATM, and she's basically being robbed. She's being forced to pull money out of the ATM, and the ATM starts talking to her. It says, "Is this guy, robbing you? Are you on a date?" It gives her different answers, like, are you on a date with this guy? Do you know him, or is he robbing you? And sure enough, he pulls out a gun, puts it in her back, and she says, "Oh, this guy wants to talk to you." And she points to the ATM, and the ATM asks him about his partner who's down the street, and says, "Are you going to cut him in on this thing? And how rich do you want to be? Or how much money do you want?" And he pops in $400. And he goes, "Come on, man, really?" He goes, "Do you want to be rich, super rich, or Bruce Wayne rich?" And, starts spitting some money out of the machine there. And this gives Cyborg enough time. We see Cyborg show up, knocks out his buddy, and then comes and knocks out this guy as well. And says, basically grabs his gun. Oops, sorry there. I need to shake everything for you. Grabs this guy's gun, crumples it, knocks him out, and then tells the woman that the cops are showing up. And she goes, "You're a cyborg." And he goes, "Nope, my name's Vic," and walks away. So he's outside of a food truck park there. He's getting some food, and his dad gives him a call and says, "Oh, I've been running some diagnostics on you." And he goes, "It took you 47 seconds to deal with those guys. What were you doing, playing with them?" And he says, "No, just, teaching them some manners, that kind of thing." And his dad, says, basically, he goes, "You shouldn't be playing with these guys. You basically should just stuck on mission, knocked them out, and been done with it." And he goes, "You know what, Dad? I got to go." And he puts it on privacy mode and then starts scanning through police records, looking for something to do. And then he starts looking through Argus records. Then he looks through the FBI files. He wants something bigger, and finds that there's talk about this town in Cloverton, Ohio, disappearing. And the agents didn't know what to do. So they're like, "Yeah, just say it was a water main leak and leave it at that." And so then we have a flashback to 5 years ago when Elias, his father, is working on Vic, on his eye, actually. And Calder has shown up, so they actually know each other. And Vic, of course, and Calder have a friendly relationship where Elias kind of keeps Calder at arm's length, if you will, and talks about his freaks, if at his place, the menagerie that he has at Doom Mansion, or Doom Manor, if you will. So we see Rita cleaning up the house alone while Larry is over at the bus stop. And we get a little montage of Larry. He wants to buy a ticket out in. Timothy Dalton's awesome, by the way. Movie for nobody, what little he's been in there. So Larry is buying a ticket to get out of town. He goes, "What's the most remote place I can go to?" And the woman behind the counter says, "Ishmael, Montana." He goes, "Give me a ticket." So he gets a ticket. He's waiting outside. The bus shows up. He raises his ticket that he's there, and the energy beam goes out of his body, and he collapses. Waits till the bus leaves, then he comes back to again, and people are surrounding him. He's like, no, I'm fine. He returns the ticket, and he does this multiple times. Every time he comes out, the energy beam leaves him and knocks him out, and he misses the bus. And finally, he just gets, pissed off and has an outburst in the parking lot. What do you want? I'm trying to get you away from people so you don't hurt anybody. And he's, of course, being recorded at this point because everyone has cell phones. And so he ends up leaving and walking back to Doom Manor. In the meantime, Cliff is in what's left of Cloverton, Ohio, which is nothing. And he's chasing the donkey around. He's trying because he has a feeling that the donkey has something to do with this. When Vic shows up, and Vic is like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm chasing the donkey." He goes, "What, you're in my way," kind of thing. And after Cyborg captures the donkey, he just kind of grabs it and lets him know that he knows Calder. He knows Dr. Niles there, not Dr. Niles Calder. Cliff fills him in on what happened, that the town disappeared and that Calder and Jane disappeared along with it. And that he thinks the donkey might have something to do with it. So that's the reason why they have the donkey. And Cyborg's like, really? The donkey has something to do with it? And just then the donkey decides to vomit up Jane. Yeah, just, kind of and horks her right on out. So Larry returns over to Doom Manor and tells Rita that he tried to run away from her in the town and apologizes for it. And she goes, no, I don't blame you. She goes, I'd run from me if I could too. I'm a monster, And just as they're commiserating on being monsters, who comes in but Vic and Cliff? They return with Jane and the donkey, of course, too. And they tell Rita and Larry that the donkey spit her out. And they're like, what? And Cliff goes, the donkey spit her out. And Vic says, yeah. He goes, I was there too. And he goes, it sounds crazy the second time around too. Yes, it does. So we have a flashback to Vic and Chief talking about him joining the Justice League if he, of course, trains hard enough. And this is what his dad is training him for and giving him upgrades for, is to join the Justice League. And Chief tries to convince him to come over to Doom Manor and just kind of visit, just to see about all these people. I'll get to that at the end there, movie for Nobi. So we have and basically Cliff, Vic doesn't answer one way or the other if he's going to go out there to Doom Manor and visit. So we go back to Cliff trying to get Jane to tell him what happened to Chief, and she keeps switching personalities pretty rapidly. And some of the personalities are saying, dead in his arms, dead in his arms. And he's trying to figure out, he's like, who? Is Chief dead? What's going on? And she switches over to Baby Doll, who knows who Cyborg is and is a big fan of Cyborg, but is afraid of Robot Man, Cliff. So Cliff leaves, and while Cyborg, talks to her, and goes back down into the lab and sees all these tapes of Jane's personalities and tries to get a little more insight into her. And excuse me, each of her personalities, or 64 personalities, has powers. So they all have different powers depending on what she switches over into. And in one of them, she says, she talks about Katie, one of the personalities, who doesn't like to interact with the other personalities and stays in the underground. And the Chief goes, what's the underground? Can you draw it for me? Can you have the Hangman's daughter come out and draw it for me? Do a quick sketch. And you see her scribbling down. She's scribbling down stuff. And that's when Cliff gets up and looks. He sees some stuff behind the wall there, some drawings, and there's this huge map of all her personalities and how they all relate. And he's like, oh, fuck. You know? In the meantime, Cyborg is trying to find out what she saw, what Baby Doll saw, and she says he wouldn't understand. And Baby Doll also says that Katie saw what happened. And Vic says, well, can I talk to Baby Doll or to talk to Katie then? She goes, I don't know if you want to, and Cliff starts running up the stairs after he sees that Jane says that Katie doesn't like to be interrogated. That's the reason why she doesn't come out. And he's like, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. And you see him running up the stairs. He's trying to get there. It just as Katie emerges and turns herself basically into the Human Torch. She is completely on fire, is flying, and starts throwing fireballs at Vic as he's running away down the hallway. Excuse me. And runs into, of course, Cliff. And Cliff says, I can handle this. And, of course, Vic's like, no, I've got this. So they're kind of having a little bit of power struggle there. And we see Jane starts switching different personalities. So she has one personality that her words actually become physical in the air, and she can turn them into knives and stick them into the walls. And Cliff says, what's the, can I talk to Jane? Is Jane in the underground? And she's got a big katana like up against his throat, which isn't going to do anything to him because he's made of metal. And she goes, well, what do you know of the underground? And he goes, not that much. He goes, but I'm trying to help. And just as she stops there, Vic knocks her into a room and locks her in. And Cliff is like, I was right there, man. I had her. I was doing, I was doing good. I could have talked her out of it. And of course, yeah, that's not going to happen. In the meantime, Rita and Larry, they saw all this stuff going down. They're like, you want to go outside and talk? I'm like, yeah, sure. So Rita and Larry are outside talking, and Larry is still trying to figure out how Jane came out of a donkey. He just can't wrap his head around it, is what he says, and thinks that the donkey might be a door. That's when Cyborg comes out, and he examines the donkey and sees a keyhole in the donkey's mouth when he scans it electronically. And he's like, I think the donkey is a door and the mouth is a key. And Rita's like, well, what? And he goes, we need to find some way to fit something down there. And they look at Rita, and Rita's like, oh, no, I'm not going in that filthy beast's mouth. What are you going to do? Put me in a garbage bag and squeeze me in there, eye first? Excuse me. And she's ranting and raving, and she goes into the house. And Cliff, of course, is sitting outside there and outside the door. And she asks him how Jane is. And he says, see for yourself. And he opens it up and goes, I think she's getting worse. And that's when Rita goes, shit. So she goes, all right, some ground rules. Don't look at me when I change. Don't squeeze me until I tell you to squeeze. And pull me out when I tell you to pull me out. And so she ends up going into the donkey's mouth. Like I said, strangest episode, but really damn funny at the same time. And you see her eye is going first down the mouth, and she goes, oh my God, this is disgusting. Oh my God. She goes, wait, it's beautiful. Everyone's here. And then she just starts getting sucked into the donkey. And they're like, wait, we're losing you. And she goes, and she falls in. And of course, Cyborg's arm goes in, and Larry's holding on to Cyborg, and they get sucked into the donkey as well. And they end up in this like lake with all these wooden stakes of pictures from the town, from Cloverton, all up on these stakes. And that's when we have Mr. Nobody start doing the narration. He also has little headphones, the touring headphones, and they put them on, and he narrates about them and what they're seeing around them. And, he's doing very snarky commentary about them and their search. And he goes, and they want to find where the people of Cloverton are going, and they decide to search. They need to go and search. So they start wandering off to go and search. In the meantime, Cliff tries to make a PB&J sandwich for Jane, and one of her personalities basically says 12 of us are gluten intolerant, and 13 of us are allergic to peanuts. What are you trying to do, kill us? She throws a sandwich back at him. So yeah, that is quite an ass movie for Nobi. It is very quite a donkey. It's a cosmic donkey, if you will. So in the meantime, Mr. Nobody takes Rita and brings her into basically what she was before she changed. He also does this with Larry. And with Cyborg, excuse me, he says, no, you're too smart for this. You know this is a trap. So I'm going to skip straight to the torture with you. And he puts him right after the blast that killed his mother and disfigured him, maimed him, took out his eye, his hand, and his leg. And so basically just has him writhing there in pain and talks about how he wants to know them better. And this is what he's going to do to break them down, to find out how to know them a little bit better. And Mr. Nobody calls himself the narrator, and no one disputes the narrator at this point. And we see basically all their little dirty secrets that they had in their life. We find out that Rita had a baby. We don't know exactly what was going on with the baby, if she killed it or if she had an abortion or what happened. We just know there's a baby involved. And of course, Larry was married and had a kid, but he was also gay. He was closeted and had a boyfriend on the base, on the Air Force base, who gave him the ultimatum that basically, leave your family or, dump me. One of the two. And yeah, so Mr. Nobody is just really fucking with him at this point. And then also with Vic, he says, how does it feel to know that you're the cause, you're the reason why your mother died? And Vic says, he goes, I live this every single day before I go to bed, before I go to sleep. He goes, I know what this is. He goes, it has, you can't use this against me. He says, the reason why I do what I do is for my mom. He goes, I know she's never going to see this, but, this is for her. This is the reason why I do, superheroing, if you will. And Mr. Nobody calls him and, basically says, he calls him bullshit, basically is what he says. And tells him to stop looking for Niles Calder. And if they don't, he's going to get really nasty. And he's got Vic on the operating table, and he's portraying his father, ripping him apart literally, like pulling his arm off, pulling his leg off. It's pretty damn disgusting. So, excuse me. All of a sudden, Larry, of course, his energy beam comes out and starts busting up all the pictures of the people that were in Cloverton and starts flying around. And Mr. Nobody says, oh, he goes, of course, that is, your beam is going to save you. And he says, well, it's just going to release you a little bit early in the whole town. And so the donkey, we see it sitting out in the lawn. It starts coughing a little bit. And then it opens up its mouth and you just see all this stuff from the town and everyone else just come flying out and they go back into place. And the last ones to come out, of course, are Vic, Rita, and Larry. And then it explodes. And they're covered in blood. Yeah, pretty nice. So Cyborg says, you know what? Mr. Nobody was scared. That's the reason why he let us go. And if we know that he's scared and we can beat him. And he's going into his pep talk speech just as his dad pulls up and says, where the hell were you? And he goes, well, so much for privacy mode. He goes, well, when you disappear off the face of the earth, he goes, it pings me and lets me know. And he goes, so he asked him where he was. And he says, you wouldn't understand. It's not a scientific, it's not scientific. And he says, well, we're going back to Detroit. And Vic tells him, well, Calder's missing. I'm going to find Calder. And he goes, no, you're not. You're coming back with me. And Vic says, no. He goes, I'm not going to do it. And this is where you see Vic's father being a little bit manipulative. There we go. I can actually say the word really. And tells him, if you come back, he goes, I'll do all those upgrades. I'll make you a god. So you can basically join any team you want. And Vic's like, I need a couple days to think it over. And lets his dad go home. And he's going to stay and look for Niles. So we see Larry going into his special room that he has. He has to go through airlocks and all this stuff. And his bandages are all covered in blood, and so are his clothes. And he ends up taking off his bandages and his clothes, his shirt. And he's like, okay. He goes, we need to talk, kind of thing, is what he says to the mirror. And he's talking to the energy beam. And he writes down something on the note, pastes it on the window. And he goes, okay, you're going to wake back up. You're going to wake back up. And he goes and lies on the bed, and the energy beam comes out of him and goes and looks at the mirror. And the note says, we need some ground rules. So there we go. They're going to get their little thing, their act together. In the meantime, Cyborg is looking for a room so he can sleep, and knocks on Rita's door by mistake and asks her where the guest room is. And she tells him where it's at, and he tells her, you did really good today. And he goes, you really did very well. You should be proud of yourself. Excuse me. And she said, oh, that's great. I'm great all the time, is what she says, and closes the door. And then we see her, kind of breaking down. She's crying because we saw Mr. Nobody pretty much broke them at this point. And then we see Jane, and she's painting a picture. And we see the picture is actually of Cyborg, who is much more machine in the picture, in the painting. Pretty much he's almost all machine. And he's holding on to his dead dad with all of them dead around them. And that's where we leave off. And he's screaming, by the way, too. Cyborg in the painting. He's yelling out. So, it was a pretty damn good show. And like I said, Alan Tudyk as Mr. Nobody is really good. Brendan Fraser, I'm loving as Cliff and Robot Man. I mean, yes, he's doing the voice only, and then he's doing when they're flashing back to him, he's doing the live, not the live action, but I should say the flesh version of him. And it's pretty damn good. And so are everyone else. I mean, it's a good cast of people. Really, it is. So thumbs up, definitely. Movie Fanobi asked me, Dennis, do you have any thoughts on Cyborg here in Beast Boy or whatever in Titans? Crossover, or maybe Doom Patrol was originally not greenlit. No, Doom Patrol got greenlit about halfway through Titans. And when they were filming, they had already done, they knew that they were going to do the Titans Doom Patrol episode. And they were talking about doing the series as Doom Patrol. And when they saw it, when they finished it, they were like, yeah, this is going to work. They changed out Chief, though. So the guy who was playing Niles Calder before was of Indian descent, and they changed him out for Timothy Dalton. And I think it was just because of a scheduling conflict more than anything else. If I remember correctly, the actor who was playing him before had some kind of other commitments and couldn't do a series. So Timothy Dalton was hired on. But everyone else is still the same. Movie Fanobi says, that's a little crazy. Imagine if all the personalities merge and she was mega powerful. I believe they have done that in the comics before. Excuse me. So it's it's definitely really kind of cool, man. Yeah, it's, if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, start the free trial if you're on the fence about it, or you can wait until all the episodes drop, and then you can get the free trial and you can burn through them. Some people do it that way too. But yeah, it's like I said, it's tonally they are very different as well. Yes, they are. Titans and Doom Patrol. Titans try to be a little more grounded and didn't work as well, whereas this is just embracing the comic book insanity with both hands and feet, man. I swear to God, it's grabbing on, and it's grabbing on tight. And I love that. That's, for me, the DC stuff that I loved was from the 70s. The crazier, the better. It just worked for some reason. And that's what they're doing with this. And that's what's cool about this is we haven't seen this kind of stuff before in a movie or a TV show. And that's what I like. Again, same thing with Umbrella Academy. Umbrella Academy could have gone into the comic book the way, I mean, the comic book is crazy, but they just didn't have the budget for it. And I like what they did with this version. I mean, it was good. So Stormy Scott says, if anyone is watching Umbrella Academy, please look for the fat lady. I have found her in 3 scenes. She is on the train with 4. She is at the bowling alley, and she asks if Vi wants to join her son. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All the same woman. There's a reason for that. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, so take care of a little bit of business. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, or if you don't like it, hit the dislike button too. I've been having somebody routinely hit 1 dislike, which I think is kind of funny. And, if you want to see what my schedule is, it's up at suspendedfanimation.com. It's also on Facebook because I have a Facebook page there. I'm also on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram as well. So we have that. And tomorrow morning is going to be Saturday morning blast off, where I do all the genre news of the week, as well as any other genre stuff you guys want to talk about. Genre related stuff, I should say, talk about. Shh, Dennis, why did you say shush? And Sunday is going to be Umbrella Academy. I'm going to do that. I'm also going to move Future Man over to Sunday evening, because Monday I'm not going to make it back in time to do Future Man. So I'm going to just move it over to Sunday evening. Yeah. I've got some stuff I've got to do, appointments that I need to keep, all that kind of stuff. So with that said, if you're still on the fence about joining up, take a look at the videos that are going to be over on this side. What's going to happen is it's going to pull videos from my library that appeal to you based on the algorithm of the stuff that you've already watched. And you can hit the subscribe button over here afterwards if you decide to subscribe. Other than that, and also, by the way, Saturdays I get to interact with you guys a lot more too in the chat, which is really cool. We actually have a really cool chat, a group of people. So yeah, it's really a lot of fun. I honestly, Movie Fanobi, don't know what they're going to do with the TV series here, because it's different. It's a lot different than the book. The book, like I said, is batshit insane. This tones it down a bit more, and they took some aspects of the book, but they didn't go with the book completely. So that's all I'm going to say. I said algorithm. I did, because that's what YouTube deals with, is not algorithms. Slurmy Scott says, night, Dennis and Fanobi, we have the best chat, no doubt about it. Yes, we do. So with that said, I'm going to let you guys go. Take a look at the videos, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all that kind of stuff. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for Saturday morning blast off. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may get sucked into a vortex and wind up getting spit out of a donkey's mouth, which isn't good. Good night, everybody.